If hell is the lowest and hottest place in America, and heaven the highest, then everything in between is purgatory. Now, dance with the devil from Death Valley to Mount Whitney. 146 miles of gross scraps, painful naps, and deadly traps. This is a tale of survival between two great extremes. Here lies a valley called Death. It's the hottest place in America. A fine summer's day can hit 130 degrees plus. It has all the desert and desperation you'd expect. Plants have a tenuous grip on life. Animals appear just as stressed. So, when the going gets tough, the tough do a round at the golf course. It's not a mirage, but a surreal, man-made oasis, nurtured by thousands of gallons of underground water. There are hazards here, especially for the wildlife. Only a privileged few coyotes are brave enough to take a swing at this high life. But their rewards are liquid refreshments, and maybe a birdie. Problem is, roadrunners don't just run. Another young coyote takes a shot close to a water hazard. A flock of ibis. This lake may be the most lethal trap on the course. His scorecard's not looking too good. He may need some more lessons from Mom. A coyote pup that can't fend for itself wants whatever Mom brings home. If that's not enough, forget golf. The pup that scored the old deer skull draws attention. Real flesh and bone is a prized possession in Coyote Land. To keep something like a rabbit skin, you gotta turn it into buried treasure. but a pirate watches. There's nothing worse than taking your eye off the ball. The 19th hole is what golfers call the bar. And there's one out here offering a top-shelf cocktail. A single date palm tree can produce 300 pounds of dates. The ripest treats litter the ground. Their sweet smell is a siren song. And fruit flies answer. But there's a problem. After a long journey through the desert, they risk overdoing it. Each date is almost 80% sugar, which ferments in the sun. The results are intoxicating. The fun fruit fly party gets out of hand. And this is a bad place for a bender. Below is a sobering sand trap. It reminds everyone that Death Valley includes the D word. This alien-looking insect larva is called an antlion. It digs its home with steep walls. All he needs is a tipsy fruit fly to stagger close by. One wrong step, and there's no escape. The antlion's jaws grip like a vice. And more, they are hollow, like syringes. It injects powerful enzymes deep inside its prey. They liquefy the fly's insides. After the enzymes are done, the antlion reverses the flow, sucking out every last bit of goo. Soon, the fly is nothing more than an empty shell. After ditching the evidence, it readies itself for the next drunken victim. The antlion will continue to trap its food for years to come. Eventually, it'll transform into a large, harmless fly itself and buzz off to discover the harsh realities of life beyond this oasis. Death Valley is the lowest point in North America and the hottest. The golf course sits in the middle of this sun-baked park. Yet travel just 105 miles west, and you reach Mount Whitney, the highest point in the lower 48, and still rising. The path between these points is a journey of great extremes. Some folks can't wait to check it out. Once a year, madmen and women line up in Death Valley to do the unthinkable. 100 athletes from 20 states and 19 different countries compete in perhaps the world's most grueling foot race. The Badwater Ultramarathon is 135 miles long. It starts at Badwater Basin, 280 feet below sea level. Only one way to go from here: up. The humans are doing it tough. Not everyone out here is in such a hurry. You might say this is no country for old men. But for one old-timer out here, it's a different story. After more than 40 years in California's Death Valley, this old tortoise has learned a trick or two about survival in the desert. Like seize the shade while you have it. He's just a bit bigger than a football. And he grows less than 1/8 of an inch each year. He forages when it's cooler, especially in spring and fall, and feasts on grass, flowers, and shrubs. Even some cactus now and then. If he's lucky, there's some moisture in the plants he eats. But he can also go a full year without a drink. He's not in any speed race. Flat out, it takes him around 5 hours to cover a single mile. But he is built for off-road endurance. Those limbs may look a bit clunky, but they are powerful tools, with strong claws for his most important duty. He digs burrows to escape the heat. Some go as deep as 6 feet. This trip topside is more of an anomaly. Desert tortoises spend an incredible 95% of their lives underground. Come winter, he may share a den with several others. And maybe find a mate for the spring. Nothing escapes the sun in Death Valley. It defines life from the rocky outcrops to the fine sand of the dunes. When the sun peaks in the sky, the ground can exceed 200 degrees Fahrenheit, almost hot enough to boil blood. That's why those marathon runners began in the cool of the evening, and now run into the dark. It's the best way to beat the heat. In winter, Death Valley night temperatures can drop to below freezing. But it's mid-July. At 3 a.m., It's still in the 70s. Just off the road, other creatures of the night also take advantage of the temperature dip. The desert kangaroo rat is built to survive in this unforgiving world. She has special kidneys that dispose of waste without sacrificing much water. And unlike all other mammals, she doesn't sweat to keep cool. Her ears, although small, can detect almost any approaching predator. Helpful when danger glides across the dunes. They call him Sidewinder, one of the desert's deadliest gunslingers. He packs 2 fangs, capable of delivering a venomous bite. The sand is still painfully hot, but this rattler has adapted. By moving side to side instead of slithering, he only ever makes contact with 2 points of his body at a time. The kangaroo rat also gets a lot of airtime. She can jump up to 9 feet in one hop as she bounces through the brush on her hunt for seeds. When these two face off, it all comes down to the quickest draw. The Sidewinder is one of the most dangerous creatures in California's Death Valley. The kangaroo rat, within striking distance, is in big trouble. Close, but no strike. The kangaroo rat manages to dodge death. Almost all of these encounters favor her lightning-fast reflexes. The Sidewinder looks for another meal. And sure enough, at dawn, he finds a second duel. But this roadrunner is no chicken. Around here, she's the law. It's fang versus beak. The Sidewinder may have deadly venom, but the roadrunner is fearless. This hero of the West barely blinks an eye. And she keeps on running. The sun rises after 5 a.m. And so does the mercury. Soon, it's 98 degrees. As the ultramarathon runners pass the 40-mile marker, many slow to a walk. No athlete can run 135 miles non-stop, especially in the hottest place in America. Runners can drink close to a gallon of fluid every hour. They call out for hydration. Behind them, the mesquite sand dunes. Here, and throughout Death Valley, iconic mountains of sculpted sand hide among the landscape. Some are more than 600 feet high and constantly reforming. They move with the wind. Plants on the edges don't survive long once a dune moves their way. They are a sight to behold. And in one case, also a sound. The Eureka Dunes near the north end of the park sing aloud with a booming voice. This is what they sound like. The sand grains of Eureka Dune are drier and more loosely packed than most. And they're mixed with very little dust. When they shift, the friction between them creates an acoustic airwave. That sounds like a groan or a hum, sometimes a boom. It's a Death Valley serenade. Inside dunes like this, one of the park's best equipped creatures prepares to meet the day. He uses the rays of the sun to get his juices flowing. And once the coast is clear, this is the Mojave fringed-toed lizard, a master of desert survival. He's got the best camouflage in North America, so it's hard to distinguish this medium-sized lizard from the sand surrounding him. Flaps over his ears and nose, along with overlapping eyelids, work like valves to block pesky sand. But his best feature just might be his namesake. Those fringed toes. A special adaptation that helps him stay above the sand. Comb-like scales on the edge of his toes turn this lizard's feet into snowshoes on sand. So he runs without burning his feet. He doesn't even sink below the surface, thus giving the fringed-toed lizard one more advantage: speed. The fastest was clocked at 23 miles per hour. At that speed, the lizard is almost completely on 2 feet. Temps skyrocket. The Mojave fringed-toed lizard must call it a day. So he heads to the coolest place he can find, where no one even knows he's there. Few can handle the midday heat out in the open. But the fringed-toed lizard has a cousin who is a most extraordinary exception. In California's Death Valley, the desert horned lizard must hunt when his prey is active. And he's picky. He really only eats one thing: ants. ants for breakfast, ants for lunch, and ants for dinner. Harvester ants make up 90% of the desert horned lizard's diet. But these insects are pretty tough themselves. And they have numbers on their side. Each colony has around 10,000 individuals, and each individual packs a painful bee-like sting. Some ants will scurry more than 40 yards to collect seeds for the nest. So the lizard has the best luck on the outskirts of the colony and plucks off a passerby. But he can't afford to fall asleep on the job. A couple spot him and fearlessly move in. His scales are as tough as nails. Fingernails, that is. Each one is like a mini shield. But a harvester ant can get under anyone's skin. And then bite in. It's an alarm clock with a piercing wake-up call. The human runners out here are also suffering. Most of the Badwater ultramarathon runners are still going. But at 70 miles in, the long, hot road to the base of Mount Whitney takes its toll. By the end of the race, 1/4 will have dropped out. The option plays on the mind. They have more than 50 miles to go when they exit the national park with still plenty of desert to endure. Not even realizing they're moving past a lake. Owens Lake. At least this is what passes for a lake around here. 120 years ago, water filled this salty basin. And towns and mines surrounded it. But engineers built an aqueduct to divert the flow to Los Angeles. And arsenic from the ancient lake bed turned it into a toxic dust bowl. Too dangerous to inhale. Now, to solve that problem, engineers have turned the tap back on. And life is returning with the water. Starting with brine flies. They hatch here in April and throughout the summer. And then, birds come to eat them. Gulls, ibis, and and a host of others on the wing. The natives are welcome back, but some visitors here are outsiders. The miners who used to work this area left behind more than waste and ruins. They're most likely the ones who introduced a most destructive new species. These are pharaoh burros. These wild donkeys travel up to 40 miles a day throughout California's Death Valley area in search of anything green. They use roads, the paths of least resistance, to skip the rockiest terrain, and often head towards Mount Whitney. They're wasteful eaters and quickly destroy plants that take years to grow. Worse still, the burros are prolific breeders. Herds can double in size in 4 or 5 years. 500,000 burros now roam the countryside. Their invasion is bad news for some residents of the Death Valley area. The largest native animal in these parts, the desert bighorn sheep. These shore-footed nomads comb the hillsides for the most nutritious plants, shrubs, and even cactus. But their main goal is to find water. They need to find a spring or a water hole every 3 days to survive the summer heat. But with that, they can climb ever higher towards the cool mountain air. The ultra-marathon runners have the same idea. They start at below sea level at the lowest point in the United States. Now, they are at 4,000 feet altitude and still climbing. The mountains ahead mark their finish line at the base of Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the lower 48 states. Along the road to Whitney, a host of all-terrain animals that can handle the desert and the heights. Coyotes are tough enough to hunt up here. This is likely a breeding pair, and they work together to track down prey. Not such good news for their favorite menu item. Desert hares are also climbers. Some black-tailed jackrabbits hang out at elevations up to 12,000 feet. But they are best known as desert dwellers. And they have a body to suit. Those ears act like an air conditioner. It's where they release their excess body heat. Those bunny ears are so good at what they do. These hairs don't need to pant or sweat, and that saves water. The only thing more important to this guy than his big ears are his big feet. With those coyotes getting closer, they're his best chance for escape. The chase is on. Black-tailed jackrabbits are speed demons. Not much moves faster through the desert below California's Mount Whitney, especially when that black-tail is being chased by a couple of coyotes. These rabbits can reach 40 miles an hour and zigzag through any terrain to throw off a rival. If he has to, he can cover 20 feet in a single leap. Today, it's enough to throw off the coyotes. For them, it's back to the grind. Not all coyotes are lucky enough to score a luxury resort. More often out here, it's like this. Hot as hell, chasing elusive jackrabbits. You have to get water when you can, wherever you can. A leaky pipe couldn't be better. It's also a single drop shower. And when the rabbits are too darn fast, there's always the spoils from Highway 34. Tourists drop all manner of food just for the coyotes. It's a quick feed that does more harm than good. She's lured close to the road. The most dangerous place for a coyote in all of Death Valley. If a coyote, or any animal, gets hit by a car, they can expect to be mopped up by an unsavory cleanup crew. Turkey vultures. Already they seem to wonder what roadkill coyote might taste like. Most of them wait above the road to Mount Whitney, with little interest in the living. They've chosen one of the only trees around for a roost. The desert conditions are unbearable for most, but these vultures have a trick up their sleeves. Or rather, down their legs. They pee on themselves to keep from overheating. A process called urohydrosis. The urine is also a disinfectant that kills germs on their feet. Handy when you tuck your talons into dead things for a living. Time for work. Meet the Vulture Club. Members climb on thermals of hot air that rise around California's Mount Whitney. The turkey vulture's 6-foot wingspan makes it look easy. They can soar as far as 200 miles, if the wind is right. Each turkey vulture relies on its powerful sense of smell. One homes in on a new scent. A jackrabbit met an untimely end. The vulture does its best to eat quickly. Other dinner guests are never far behind. Their stomach acid is at least 10 times stronger than our own. Their biggest worry isn't fast food, but a fast car. Just up the road, the snow-marked peaks of the High Sierras are a welcome sight for the ultramarathon runners. They've covered 122 grueling miles to get this far. Just 13 more to go. "13 miles in another world." It's steep as they head through the town of Lone Pine. Some are down to a walk, but that's better than a crawl. With aching joints and pounding feet, they cross the finish line. They celebrate the end of a grueling journey. From the lowest and hottest place in America to the highest and one of the coldest peaks in the lower 48. The runners learn what the animals here have long known. Life in this corridor is less about a race and more about survival. Even the luxury golf course has more traps than meet the eye. Most creatures have to fight for life. Every day is a scramble, where animals have to watch each step and beat the heat as best they can. The 146-mile path to Mount Whitney offers some relief. But more extremes await at the other end. And a wrong turn can be your last. But survive this one, and you know you've done something incredible. You've conquered the path of two great extremes.